Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back. Let's do a deep dive here into the Yikong TB7 / FMS Ridge Racer. Gonna pull this thing apart a little bit, go through some of the details, show you guys what we got going on in there. I want to pull out at least the center and the rear diff and do a little inspection. I have a feeling the center diff is quite low on fluid, if it has any in there at all. And I think I want to stiffen up the rear diff a little bit as well. So we'll see how that goes, and then if I feel ambitious enough, I might tackle the front diff as well. We'll see how those go in terms of working on this. I'm going to be changing the radio over to my FlySky GT5, and I also have this guy here, Hobbywing Axe 4274 motor, 2000 kV. This is a censored setup here with a really nice, super programmable ESC. I'm gonna have a remote adjustable drag brake and a lot of other cool features on this truck. So we're gonna see how that goes. Definitely got to get a motor fan on here as well. I was getting some heat buildup issues the last time I ran this, and it is quite hot outside. So it's only gonna get worse. So this is the first video I'm filming here in my new shop, which is in my house, which is really cool because easy access, and I could go right out in my backyard where I have some woods trails and starting to build a little bit of a track and everything else. And I got like some of my collection here, but I mean the majority of it is back at my workshop. And I got some more shelving up here to fill up with some, probably put some crawlers up there and leave the shelves for the big cars. Get some more shelving over here for the little stuff, and we'll see how much stuff we can jam pack into this room. But if it sounds a little bit hollow, it's because everything is echoey in here. I don't have any like floor mat down or anything, or any noise cancellation stuff. Need to get a good microphone and everything else, but work in progress. So you'll probably be seeing hopefully a lot more videos now that it's going to be a little bit more convenient. Also had to do a little bit of a party vibe in here. Okay, so before we get into this, I just want to talk about pricing. I know on the FMS website, these are around 550 bucks. Correct me if I'm wrong. Plus shipping, plus tax, blah, blah, blah. I would say take a look on AliExpress. If you're not opposed to ordering on AliExpress, I've had some really good results. You typically don't have to wait too long. I ordered this right before the whole tariff situation came into effect, so I did have to wait longer because apparently there was a big backup at the ports. They were inspecting things. I don't know, whatever was going on. But listen, I got this thing, I think I ordered it like 2 months ago. There was a sale going on, and I got a coupon from AliExpress. I got this for $327, shipped, including tax, RTR as you see it, brushless, the whole deal. I mean, crazy, crazy, crazy good deal. So my recommendation, not only that, but it has the better livery. The FMS Ridge Racer does not look nearly as good with the new, graphics package on there and decals and stuff. This looks way better. So if you can find this on AliExpress and wait around a little bit, try to find a coupon or wait for a sale. I have seen these quite often go below $400. So if you see that and you find a coupon and you get free shipping, I would jump on it, man. It's a killer deal. But beyond that, at any price, I think it's worth it. Even if you pay full price from FMS, I think it's worth it. You know, it's a really nice, well-built machine, and it handles really well, and it's an absolute blast to drive. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this whole body off in 2 seconds, but I just wanted to show you guys. Pivots back nicely. The battery tray is it's not ideal, but when we're talking about the competition, which would be, in my mind, okay, again, if there's others out there, I don't know, but correct me if I'm wrong, the UDR would be kind of, it's in the same ballpark. It's because it's a similar size, and yeah, it's kind of a desert truck. The UDR battery compartment, I think, is honestly even more restricting because it's kind of long, but it's very narrow. So it's really frustrating to find any aftermarket batteries that fit, that are a decent size. Especially in the 6S range. Similar in here, but I think you have a little more leeway in terms of battery placement and the height and everything. You are limited, of course. I'll show you a little bit better here in a second, but the rear upper link mount here kind of limits the height of your battery, but the tray is a decent amount longer than what you see here. And I'm just running this 5200 6S Z. This is actually what I run on my UDR as well. This fits in there nicely. Just bashing around like I did in the woods in the last video I just posted up. I feel like well over an hour of just playing around in the woods, you know, not any prolonged high-speed driving, but man, I ran that thing pretty hard, and it was like an hour and 15 minutes, it seemed like. I'd say a solid hour, you know. I was stopping in between, doing a little filming and stuff, so, but I'd say a good hour of just playing around in the woods on a 5200, so I'm very happy with that. And you do have a second if you want to run 2 batteries, 2 2S batteries, 2 3S batteries. It would be tougher to fit multiple batteries in here, especially if they're hard cases. You definitely want to, let me show you closer up here. It would be harder to fit 2, like hard cases are kind of out of the question unless you're running just a 4S. Here is where it limits on you on the height. You can go longer, but a lot of times batteries, when they get larger in the milliamp rating, they don't exactly get longer. They typically get thicker and taller. So that's going to be a slight limitation. And I'm not crazy about these straps. Are a little difficult to get to, especially in the one in the back, but you know, minimal complaint on there. Another thing I'll mention, I don't have it with me right now. It's at my other shop. This came with a nice Lexan over tray that fits down. There's Velcro here, so it kind of covers the entire inner chassis here, and you know, has like little guards that come down, but it's just like one piece clear Lexan. And it's really nice to keep all the crud out and everything, especially you're running in like mud or in the winter, in the snow and stuff, or just keeping grass and gravel and stuff out. The one bad thing would be it would definitely retain a decent amount of heat. So I'm thinking of, I'll probably try running it, especially when it's bad conditions, but I think I'm going to install a fan on there and just keep some circulation going. Definitely got to get a fan on the motor as well. And we're going to see how that works out. There's not much room stock here. You'd have to figure out, I don't know, some kind of different type of a fan in here that's going to fit. I've seen blower fans that blow out from the side. That could work, but part of the solution is going to be this entire receiver box with the spur cover comes off. I'm going to relocate that. I may even just swap this out to like a Traxxas style, like more of a waterproof sealed receiver box and mount it up front here. I'm going to have a ton more room for mounting a fan back here. I think that's going to be the ultimate solution, so stay tuned for that. We'll see if I get to that in this video. Likely, because I want to swap the motor out, do the center diff at the very least, ESC motor, center diff, FlySky controller, receiver with the gyro, get that tuned and set up. And I think that's where I'm going to stop for this video. Suspension, I think, is pretty dialed, man. I'm not going to mess with that right now. Stock sway bar works nice. One thing I would say on this, because of how this is mounted, it wants to twist this ball end here. The easiest fix, and there's a set screw that goes in from underneath here. Take this out, loosen the set screw, slide this off of the sway bar here, and just see where that set screw touches it and file a flat spot on the bar itself here, so that when you tighten that set screw up, it's going onto a flat and not a round. So when it goes up onto a flat, it's gonna resist twisting. And you know, the force on this pushing up wants to twist this that way. So having the flat spot on there, I did it because I read that was an issue with this. I did it before I even ran this truck. 0 issues. Put some Loctite on the set screw and you're good to go. No problems there. So like I said, the only other thing I had a wheel nut. The very first time I ran this in my backyard, I had a wheel nut come loose and the wheel flew off. Luckily, I found the pin. I found the wheel hex with a little faux brake caliper in there, rotor I mean, and I found everything except for the wheel nut. So just threw a new one on there, made sure they were tight, and it's been good ever since. So yeah, really good. Let me get this body off and we'll get into the inner workings of this rig. So to completely remove the body, super easy. Just literally grab some pliers and pop these off of the ball ends there. And then your limit straps, screw on each side, goes in from here. What's kind of cool too, they give you 2 positions for the limit strap, I guess, if you wanted to change it. The only downside with this is a super stretchy, it's not so much of a limit strap, it's just kind of a faux limit strap. I will probably at some point swap these out for more of like a heavy duty, like nylon style limit strap that is actually going to limit something, because this doesn't do anything. It just stretches. And then of course it's all up to your shocks to really limit that down travel on the wheel. And because these wheels are exposed, if you're taking a good tumble and something smacks this wheel and pushes it that direction, you always run the risk of popping a shock rod end off and just kind of ripping that apart. So that's never fun. Limit straps, I feel like, should be functional, and they're just got to figure something out that's the right size, and it would look cooler. I don't know. These rubber straps just look kind of, you know, not the greatest, but we'll see. Anyway, body's completely off. Good amount of weight there, which is also why this thing tends to roll over a little bit, as you probably saw in my previous video. But overall, still super, super fun to drive. And look at the access you get to this thing now. I mentioned that I think the closest competitor to this would be, well, there's a couple of them, I think. The Hammer Ray, for one, which I have right there. Closest competitor to this truck as it stands, aside from, I mean, no, this probably is the closest, just because it is independent front suspension, trailing arm rear, and look, in real life, this truck competes in the King of the Hammers. This is the Casey Curry Trophy Jeep, and this is the Vaughn Gittin Jr., Lauren Healy Funhaver Bronco. They compete head-to-head in real-life events, like U4 style events. So, yeah, you don't get much closer than that. I will say this, though, that out of the box between the two, this one pretty much crushes the Hammer Ray in terms of performance. Hate to say it, I mean, that truck I did so much work to, has a censored system in it, remote adjustable drag brake, dual front shock setup. You can see the Evira setup there. I mean, all kinds of stuff done to this, and a lot of money into this truck, and it's really cool. It drives really nice now, but I mean, stock, this is better. So I want to get them out and do a little head-to-head competition at some point, but then also the other one I'll mention is the Axial Rift. Just in terms of going out and doing like some woods bashing, which would be like anything you see in the woods that you want to jump, a big hill climb, a ledge you want to jump off of, or whatever you want to do out in the woods just to have fun. I feel like they're in the same league. You know, the Hammer Ray, the Yikong Ridge Racer, and the Axial Rift, I think, are all like right in there together. I'll probably just do like a little triple truck shootout just to see. I'm real curious to see which one ends up being like the most fun to use. I feel like it's going to be between this and the Rift. Rift is definitely more capable in terms of like hardcore trails, and especially when you get into more like rock crawling-esque kind of use. The Rift is going to beat this out just because, mainly because of the tires. The Rift has big, soft, sticky tires on it, and these are like really hard as a rock, so they don't have good traction for like any kind of lower speed stuff. It doesn't really work too well. But when you get into anything higher speed, this truck will destroy the Rift. So I think it's going to be based on what you're doing at the moment. But in terms of just all out fun, I don't know. It's a tough call, man, because they're both super fun in slightly different ways. There's a big crossover in the middle where they're just great woods bashers. But I think when you get into more open terrain, faster terrain, this is going to be more fun. When you get into tighter, slower, more hardcore rocky kind of terrain, the Rift is going to be more fun. So, but man, they're both freaking awesome. I mean, you could only have like 2 RC trucks. I feel like you get this, you get your speed fix in with this, and do some woods bashing and jumping and everything else. Get your Rift out, go and do some light duty crawling, and then some hardcore trailing, and also a little bit of bashing. And man, that's great, man. These 2 trucks, pretty much, in my opinion, are the most fun RC trucks. UDR, I love the UDR, but it's a lot more specific to the terrain that you're driving in. Of course, it's a trophy truck, so can't do anything too extreme with it, but it is a very fun truck. But these things are just more all-around fun. You could, a lot more versatile. You could take them into a lot of different terrain and really just have a blast with them. So but yeah, so we'll do some head-to-head competition videos at some point, and also just to give you guys an indication of like what what the performance is like on this compared to something else that you might have. Like maybe you have a ham array, maybe you have a Rift or a UDR, and we'll run these so you can kind of get an idea and see them, you know, right up against each other to really get a good comparison. But let's start taking this thing apart. I don't know, was I talking too much? Did I mention how much easier this is? If you've done any work, if you've owned a UDR or a ham array, Rift isn't quite as bad as those, but a UDR or a ham array are a giant pain in the ass to work on, just really time consuming. Everything is really difficult to get to. Here it is, you know, I had the servo out. My servo, I will mention that. The servo showed up out of the box. It was the horn was one tooth off. And you'd say, okay, well, just set your endpoints. Well, with the stock controller, you can't really set endpoints. You can set your overall steering travel, but you can't set an endpoint left and right. At least I don't know how to do it. You know, if there is something, it's not an easy setting to figure out. So I couldn't figure it out. I had to pull the servo out, reposition the horn one notch, and it was super easy. It's basically the ESC sits on a nice aluminum tray, one screw on either side. The whole ESC comes off of above the servo. And then the brackets that hold the servo in, also one screw up from the bottom on either side, and servo pops right out. It was super easy. So that's really convenient. It looks like everything else is really easy to get to. So there's not much to it. We'll see how difficult it'll be to get to the front. All right, let's start by pulling out all of the electronics, since I'm going to be swapping everything out. Anyway, I'm going to take these two screws out, pull the whole receiver box. Stock receiver box is pretty decent. It's not O-ring sealed or anything, so it's not really waterproof. I'd say it's more like splash resistant. I don't picture myself getting this truck into any kind of really nasty situations in terms of water, so I don't know how crazy I'll go with a different receiver box. I may just mount a Fly Sky receiver up here, something that's splash proof, and just call it a day. All right, loosen those two screws and the whole receiver box comes out and exposes your spur gear here. So the mesh out of the box is really good, so that's not what's causing the noise that I'm experiencing. So I'm really curious to see what's in this center. A nice place to mount the switch here, so that's nice to see. With the ESC, it's just these two screws here, and it's mounted on a nice aluminum plate. I'm hoping that the new ESC I'm going to use will mount to this plate as well. It's a really nice way to have it nice and secure without using Velcro or double stick tape or anything, but yeah. Very nice. Let's check this against the new one. So here's what I will be installing. This is the Axe R3, 8th scale, censored, brushless, all of the good stuff. I don't know why it comes with an XT60. It's kind of odd for something capable of handling 6S. So yeah, the Axe Plus R3, 135 amp, 1/10 to 1/6 crawler. Yeah, so we'll see how this system works in this truck. Technically, this is more for a crawler, being that it's censored and has all types of FOC and drag brake features. Probably why they ran an XT60 on here, but it is 6S capable. And this is a 2000 kV motor, so it's the exact same size, 4274. Stock is a 1600. Just had to look at it again, remind myself, and this is a 2000 kV, so definitely gonna pick up some speed. I'm kind of hoping that 4S is gonna work out nice on this truck, because then I could fit a bigger battery, and maybe it'll run a little bit cooler. Hopefully it's definitely gonna have more punch with this being censored and all of the adjustments I can make on this, and that it's a higher kV. So we'll see. I'm gonna start out on 4S and maybe just play with gearing and see if that works out. You can see the servo here. It's a big boy here. This is the servo out of my SCX6. This is a Spectrum, what do we got here? The S905. This is a little bit smaller than a true like fifth scale, and I don't know, I thought it was a little smaller. It's actually, the one in the Yikong is a little bigger. I wonder, I'm gonna have to measure this and see if, is this a true like fifth scale size servo in here? I tried, I mean, it's a G9035, if you could see in there. I'm assuming Yikong brand. I cannot find any information on this thing. I would love to know if it can handle a higher voltage, because stock, this ESC is putting out 6 volts. And you can go in here and change this with the program card up to 7. It was either 7.2 or 7.4. It was probably 7.2. Wondering if this can handle it. It seems like it should be able to due to its size, but I don't know. So these are the mounts here for the servo, and underneath the chassis, it just goes in with 2 screws. So pretty simple. They include different mounts for a 10 scale size servo. I don't think I would do that. I think that, you know, if you can fit a big servo in here, this is what I would run. It just makes sense due to the size of the truck and the kind of abuse it's going to take. It does have a nice bell crank style steering here. It is a plastic horn, which, you know, typically makes me nervous. I gotta figure out the spline count and see. Maybe I'll throw in an aluminum horn in here just to be safe. I don't know, you know, maybe it's not going to be an issue, but plastic horns just kind of, you know, I don't know. I feel like you're asking for that thing to strip out sooner or later. Yeah, so these 3 screws here, tapered ones, and the entire motor plate comes out. Probably easier. May not even had to have removed that front plate, but we'll see. So motor out, and I have to say, none of these are thread locked, and they were a tiny bit loose, so probably good to pull these out. Even if you're not doing this, pull these out, put a little drop of purple Loctite on there, or medium strength blue, and snug them up, because you don't want this coming loose. Look at this center diff assembly. I mean, very nice quality. I like that nice lightened spur gear with all these large holes in it. Yeah, really seems beefy. Nice aluminum diff cup. Let's get this thing apart and see what's inside. So just turning it, it feels like there's fluid in there, and it feels nice and smooth. I'm curious, it might just be very light fluid. There is like a screw in there, so it looks like you can pop that screw out to pull these out drives from the diff without having to disassemble it. So that's really nice. If you get any wear or damage on these, you can just swap them out pretty easily. All right, here's the big moment. Oh, look at that. Okay, there's definitely fluid, and it seems pretty full. So this is not the source of my noise. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and put some thicker fluid in here anyway. Let me check the manual and see what comes stock in this thing, and I'll see what I got. Take a quick peek at the manual that comes with this truck. It's a little bit more of just an exploded view than it is a manual, but really gives you like all the specs, really easy to find, gear ratios with different tooth pinions, the wheelbase, all this info. I really like the way this is laid out. It's just very straightforward, easy to read, easy to find information. Comparing this to like a Traxxas manual where you get all the regular like BS, like how to operate your RC and blah, blah, blah. You don't really need all that. This just kind of gets right down to all the basics here, how to adjust your trim, blah, 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 steering endpoints, and so forth. But yeah, this is what I'm looking for here. Center diff says 60,000. Front diff is 10,000. Rear diff is 10,000. So I like that you can just easily come in here and check this stuff out. Really nice exploded views of everything, the shocks. We're gonna check these out later. I'll make sure these are all full. Looks like 500, I'm guessing, CST in the sprung fronts, and then looks like 1000 CST. If I remember right, the conversion is just kind of like close. That would be closer to 100 weight. Yeah, so we'll go through this, but yeah, I like the way this is laid out. This is like kind of exactly what I want out of any manual. I'd rather just have an exploded view and figure the rest out as you go. Looks like tires and foams are available separately, which is nice. I may order a set of tires and just mess around with them on some beadlocks with some different inserts, or just maybe even try running them without foams. Maybe that will soften these things up to the point where they work really well. They kind of give you like a nice parts list here, some pictures, really easy to find stuff for reference. Here are the tires and inserts. See if those are available on AliExpress. I think so. I think actually on the FMS website, they have those listed, fairly inexpensive. So I'll take a peek at that. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this. This is a very nice manual. and just kind of makes things easy. So I don't have any 60. I mean, this was supposedly 60. It seemed light to me. I don't have anything like kind of in between. I have 200K. I let this sit upside down overnight, drained out most of it. I'm not going to go and clean it or anything like that. I'm just going to 200 in and see how that works for now and go from there. If I need something lighter, maybe I'll go down to 100. But yeah, let's give this a try and see how it works. Okay, 200K. Feels good, nice and smooth. I mean, noticeably stiffer. We'll see how it works out once it's running. Found my first quality control issue here. The motor adjuster screw. So you have 3 of them, which is nice. You have one up here, one here. The one that goes in from the bottom, which you can adjust from under the chassis, I went to snug it up and you can see it's stripped out. But I honestly feel like they put too short of a screw in here, so I'm just going to put a longer one in and hopefully it catches some threads. That worked. They had a 12 mil screw in here. I actually went with an 18. And you can see just kind of reaches there, and there were some good threads in there. So crisis averted, that worked out. Definitely someone put the wrong screw in here. I make a bet if I look in the manual, that's supposed to be longer. 3x12, there's no way. That's way too short. I wonder if this is like a misprint or they just overlooked that, but 12 is definitely way too short for this, I think. I mean, look how far that goes in. If you count the washer they put on it, it's barely anything. Throw a longer screw in there. I'd say anytime you take the motor out, even if yours isn't stripped yet, I would put a longer screw in. So I got the motor in. Had to adjust the gear mesh slightly. There is a little bit of a tight spot in one section. Maybe this pinion or spur has a little rough edge on it. Maybe just driving a little more. That could be the noise that I'm hearing. Every so often it just gets to a little tight spot. So I set it a little bit loose at that tightest spot, so hopefully that helps a little bit. But check it out. With the receiver box removed from here, room for a fan. I'll link up this fan down below. I got it off Amazon. I don't remember. I don't think it was too pricey. Blows a lot of air, and it has a nice heat sink on it that I should have showed you before I snapped it on, but it does have like cutouts in the heat sink that blow right through onto the motor, so that's really nice. So this thing should work out perfectly. Just need to route the wires, solder them up to the ESC, and we should be good to go. Now you do lose the spur gear cover. See how that's built in there? You could always cut that off if you wanted to really run that. You could trim it along the back here and put that on. I'm not too worried about it. I'll just make sure all the wires are zip tied out of the way. I'm gonna run them up over this rear brace here and just kind of keep them out of here. It's open on the bottom anyway, so I don't see it being a big deal having this open on the top. That doesn't bother me. While we're doing diffs though, let me jump into this rear diff first. Manual says 10,000. I believe it. It's really open. I definitely want to lock this up a little bit. Let's get this apart. I'm thinking I can just sneak everything out from this side, being that the screws go in from here. I'll just pull these out, pull this off the top, and hopefully I can pop this right out. Use plastic wheel hexes. Extremely familiar looking. If you own a UDR, I'll make a bet these would fit right on. So I'm going to try to do this the easiest way possible. Just remove these 2 screws. This just pops right up and out. And I'll see if I can just remove these larger bolts and separate the axle and get directly to the diff. For the rear diff, I was able to cheat it a little bit. Just these 2 screws out of the top mounting plate there. 4 of these large 3mm head screws that go into the axle here. And then you can just separate the whole axle. So pretty easy. There we go. Seriously beefy pinion gear. Everything's nicely greased. So far, very impressed. Double row bearing here. That's nice. Nice big oversized bearings. Big oversized bearings on the diff housing here. Really big ring gear. Yeah, this thing is built pretty solid. Okay, so it's definitely full. It's full. I think it's just for the style of driving I want to do with this. This is too light of a fluid, so let me see what I got lying around and what I'm gonna put in here. So I noticed there is a shim here on this ring gear, so the ring and pinion are shimmed out of the box, so that's nice to see. And the diff itself felt very nice and smooth. Not much free play in there, so I don't know if they're shimmed or if they even need to be, but they feel really nice. We'll see long term how these hold up, but nice and heavy duty. Again, you have a little screw on the inside of this outdrive here, so you can just remove this without pulling apart your whole diff if you have any wear or tear or any damage to your outdrives. So that's nice to see. So far, all of the bearings I've seen are rubber sealed bearings. Very nice. Nice, big, heavy duty. Take a good look at this drive shaft here. This is just a dog bone style. Nice, thick steel here. Everything is greased nice in there. Of course, you have this boot that covers that area, so that's going to keep things nice and lubricated, keep any dirt, crud from getting in there. Now, the diff cup on the rear is plastic, but feels like it's a nice, good quality nylon plastic. We'll see how it holds up. All right, this is pretty well drained out. I'm just going to use the same 200K that I did in the center diff, and I'm going to mush some in here. Stuff is pretty thick, and I'll kind of force out whatever remaining 10,000 is in there, and I'll end up with a little bit of a mixture, so it's not going to be straight 200K, but that's fine. Like I said, this is kind of an experiment at this point. I don't really know how heavy I want to go, so this is kind of just a try it and see situation. All right, that's all back together. Man, these are some very smooth feeling diffs. Gear mesh in there is just so spot on. Feels really nice. 200K feels pretty good in there. I think this is going to work out. So just pulled this inner axle out from the right side here, just to take a good look at it. And it is a dog bone style here. Nice thick steel. See how this holds up. I mean, I feel like this is a little more heavy duty than what you find in the UDR. If you pull your drive shaft out, it's much easier to get this boot reseated on your pinion and your drive shaft when it's out of the truck. Trying to squeeze this in between the axle housing, the third member there, is pretty difficult. So you're going to want to pop this side on first and then make sure this front area is seated nicely. So top tip, guys. If you mess with the drive shaft at all, do your best to keep this boot attached to the pinion gear assembly when it comes out, because let me show you the manual here. So here's your drive shaft, here's the boot. You see this little circlip? This circlip is pressed onto the pinion gear shaft here, and the little edge of the boot does fit around the lip of the shaft on the pinion gear, but it kept popping off. The only thing I could think of is that the boot actually has to go around where this circlip is, and the circlip can slide back and forth in the little slot here. So it was really tricky. I had to kind of like spread out the boot a little bit, like squeeze it so the end popped out a little bit, and then kind of worked it around this circlip. If you mess with it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was really tricky. I had to take the whole pinion gear back out and mess around with it for a while to get it over this circlip. And now it fits nice and tight, but before, no matter what I did, it kept popping off. So, like I said, do your best. If you pull the drive shaft out, keep the drive shaft pressed into the pinion gear assembly and don't let that fall out. Just hold it all together and you should be okay. If not, you're gonna have to struggle a little bit. Not crazy about the design. I do really like the boot on here, but it's kind of a pain how they attached it. So just keep an eye on that. Front diff assembly out really wasn't too bad. I didn't film it, but I'll tell you briefly. You just need to pull the front bumper off, and then the 4 screws that go into from the shock tower above. Pull the pins out for your front arms, and disconnect your steering links, and you can then take this whole assembly and kind of just push it to the back here. And then all the screws out from the bottom here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 3 down this center row here, and then 1, 2. And, you know, they go up from the bottom. Once that comes out, you can kind of bend this up enough to pop it over here, and then this whole piece slides out. And again, we have this rubber boot on here, which I'm gonna try to leave attached to the pinion gear inside, because I did struggle with the rear one a little bit, getting it back on. It kept wanting to pop off and stuff, so I'm gonna see how this one goes. But yeah, let me get this thing apart and we'll take a look inside. Feels nice and smooth, but again, very light fluid. It's listed in the manual as 10,000, so I think I'm gonna go with 30,000 for the front. So first glance here, it appears to be the same setup as the rear. Double row of bearings there, nice large pinion gear. Here's your ring gear and the diff. We'll see if this is shimmed at all. Again, we do have one shim on the ring gear side, so pretty much same deal as the rear. And same deal as the rear. It's plenty full. It's just a very light fluid. So just gonna dump most of this out and then put some 30K in there. Okay, so I kind of jumped ahead here and went out and ran this thing before I showed you the final product, but here we just got the ESC, some double stick tape onto the original mount. I got my fan here. I'll link up this fan down below. It does an excellent job. And I'll have to show you, it has cool glowing lights that change color in there. That's pretty cool. Running this on 4S 6200 hard case. Changed out the battery straps. The stock ones were really long, and I guess the idea was to go under the battery and then over it. Kind of doesn't make sense to me. It was a pain in the neck, so I changed it out to these Apex Racing straps that just go over the top of the battery. Much easier to deal with. I'll link these up down below too. I believe they're 200 millimeter. Don't take my word for that. I can't remember. I'll link them up down below. Just mounted my power switch here, my Fly Sky. So this is running a gyro. Stock I had a gyro, but this one works much better. You can really fine tune it. Have it set pretty low, just 25%. Here's my lighting switch. I can toggle through a couple different modes or just turn them off. Interestingly enough, the stock system, I was getting some dimming going on with the lights. When I gave it throttle, they were dim to begin with, but when I gave it throttle, they really dimmed, almost went out and flat and kind of blinked at times. Not having that problem with this system. Currently, it is set to 6 volts coming out of the ESC. I can bump it up to 7.4 or 8.4. I just don't know if the servo can handle it, so I'm not going to mess with that yet. Seems to have pretty good power on 6 volts, so let's stick with that for now. This thing did great. I really like this system. I am going to try it. Again, this is stock gearing. I'm going to try it on 6S, but drop the dual rate down to like 75% and see how it does. Did not have any heat issues with this. Stayed nice and cool. Definitely recommend a fan. Definitely a fan for the motor. The fan on here, the smart fan, was really kicking ass. Didn't run the whole time, so it just comes on and off when needed, and you can hear it, and it was not running all that much, and it's pretty warm out. It's like 75 degrees, and with the drag brake cranked all the way up, you would think this would have had more of a heat issue. It did not. Pretty happy with the diffs. 30K in the front, 200K, 200K. Will probably go a little bit heavier at some point in the future, but I want to try this truck in a few different environments first to really get more of an understanding of how this thing is handling. But for like the woods type terrain I was doing today, some heavier diff fluid would be helpful, and I would also run different tires for just going out and doing some trailing. I think the U4 high racks are going to be perfect, set up kind of nice and soft, with probably just with the stock foams at first, or maybe like a dual stage foam. We'll experiment with that. I do have some wheels for this thing. I have 2 options of Evero True wheels here, and I'm not sure which one I'm gonna run. These are for a UDR. All the screws aren't in there yet, but you know, yeah, that would look cool. And these are 2230. They'll work with the high racks. And then these were for a Mojave. Obviously the color is spot on. Might have to run these. I'll just have to get some adapters to drop these down to the smaller axle size, but that's not a big deal. Just some aluminum washers in there so I could run a standard nut there, and 17 mil hex, so these should go right on, no problem. I would try running these with these tires, and maybe I will. These are just some fake high racks off of Amazon. They're really soft and squishy, so they might hook up okay, but only problem is they're a good amount smaller, so ground clearance is not going to be ideal. But yeah, I think I'm going to run these wheels. I'll order up some adapters and go with the silver and red I think that's gonna look really nice. This is with the drag brake completely off. Just letting it coast pretty much like normal. Now let me turn the drag brake up. Full drag brake set to 100%. It goes up to 200%. And this is with the drag brake rate cranked all the way up. So you can see, I'm not hitting the brakes. That is full ESC control there. So I have pretty much anything in between. I can turn the drag brake rate down. It engages it much more slowly, but it still gives you that same drag brake force overall. Just takes longer for it to kick in. And then I can adjust the drag brake kind of anywhere in between. And then I can also go into Bluetooth and adjust this up to 200% drag brake, which should really hold it if I wanted to do any kind of rock crawling, but we'll have to experiment and play around with that a little bit. For now, I'm just gonna rip it with the drag brake off a little bit and show you guys. This is running on 4S, of course, right now. Kind of scared to run this on 6S until I figure out if there's any heat issues with the motor or the ESC, but so far they're cool. And the fan on the ESC has not even kicked on yet, so that's a good sign. For back here, 4S seems completely appropriate. 6S back here would be way too much. You can hear that this truck is still pretty noisy. I don't know, maybe it's just a slightly misformed pinion gear. Not sure. I could try swapping it out with like a good high quality pinion and see if it gets any quieter. It's a little bit better. I feel like the more I run it, it does get a little quieter. So that's probably a sign that it just needs to either break in a little bit, or maybe I need to swap it out. To be doing pretty well for this kind of driving. We'll get into the trails and see how well they do. I gotta turn this brake up too. I don't know if this is the maximum brake force, but it's not really all that great. Oh, you can see that log there. Let's try that again, a little less. Oh. Curious how these diffs do at lower speeds. Let's just try to I'm gonna turn the drag brake up and try to rock roll this a little bit. As slow as possible. Way better than stock. You know what? I mean, this system is really smooth and torquey, man. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Let me try to do like actual like rock rolling speed here. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy with that. Let me get into some steeper stuff in a minute here, but just playing around on here. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. Also hook up a lighting switch. You can do a little flashing mode. You can do a little pulsing mode here. And then of course I could just turn them off or just full on. So let's go down into the woods and run this on the trails a little bit and see how it does with the drag brake and the censored system, and we'll see how much control we got on some a little steeper, more gnarly terrain back there. Let's see, diffing out a little bit here. Got this a little bit lower speed here and see what happens. Hung up too much. 3 wheels driving here. So it does at log crossings here. Nice. So this course I pretty much laid out for like 10 scales, 8 scales, like Rift, Hammer Ray. We'll see how it does on it. It's definitely kind of a big, wide truck for this. This is all relatively new here. I raked out. This is going to be more of a kind of a rock racer course. All right, let's see how the drag brake does. Coming down this. Well, it's not bad. Rolls a little bit, but I don't necessarily need this thing to be full-on crawler level drag brake. I mean, of course, this is a little bit steeper than what it looks like on video too. But let's see if we could even get under this log here. Oh yeah. Having a drag brake set this high is definitely going to build up a lot more heat, so this should be a good test for this system. There we go. So you can see in spots like this with the larger rocks and kind of getting hung up a lot, the diffs are definitely still too open for this style of driving. If you were going to run this thing on 4S in conditions like this, I would definitely recommend going probably significantly higher with the diff fluid, just for more of a almost permanent like 4-wheel drive. I wouldn't fully lock them, but definitely I would say maybe almost like million weight or 2 million weight in the rear, and really get some good kind of traction for climbing rocks like that. Tires are definitely not doing us any favors. Here really demonstrates how you have to drive this truck in its current configuration. You do have to attack things with a decent amount of speed, just for the tires to grip and also for the diffs to kind of stay engaged. And it's kind of fun, honestly. I don't mind it so much. All right, it's getting really tight back here. Oh boy. That's what I'm saying, with the truck being this wide, it becomes a real challenge getting through stuff like this. Well, it wasn't pretty, but I made it. And if anything's gonna put heat into that motor, going to be that. Let's see how we get up this hill here. Let me get into slow-mo here. The stability of this truck is really, really good, and it really allows you to attack some pretty gnarly terrain without really flipping over too much. You just have to really stay on the power to get some drive to the wheels, and you know, stability allows you to really stay in the throttle for quite a while, just to make it up lines like this. But really, really good, man. I was surprised that it did this well on steep terrain like that. The steering on this truck is very good, especially at navigating such tight trails for a wider vehicle like this. I have no complaints about the steering angle. Stock servo worked very well. The stock bell crank is good. The spring on the bell crank for the saver is nice and strong. Hill climb challenge here. Not the steepest thing in the world, but it is very loose and very kind of a lot of rocks under the surface of this loose dirt here. what I was afraid of happening here. Getting hung up on the axles. Do it over. Try 2. Much better. Didn't know where I was going there. Whoa, slipping myself. Challenging. Can't even go backwards. Hung up on that big ass rock under there. Here's where the drag brake is great because I can back up and the truck doesn't roll all the way down the hill. Oh yeah. You can hear that ESC fan just kicked on big time. I think there's a leaf caught in it. Nice. Oh boy. This might be impossible. Let's try it though. I'm just taking rocks down with me. All right, that's not gonna help. Get a good run at this thing. Oh, nice. Kind of wish I did that in slow-mo. Maybe I'll try it again. Now, sections like this is where I really started to have fun and enjoy driving this truck. It seemed like the more I kind of attacked these rough sections, the more fun it became. You got to hit them with a little bit of speed, get some momentum, and you can see this thing just shreds, kicking up roost everywhere. And it's very capable. You just have to drive it differently. And at this point, I started to realize that the Rift and maybe even the Hammer would be a little bit better suited for this rough terrain, just because they're a little bit narrower and they do have a little bit softer tire setup. But man, you just stay in the throttle on this thing, and it's pretty capable. You do lose some control when you're trying to drive like that, just kind of full throttle everywhere. The truck does kind of go where it wants to go, but hey man, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed driving this truck. So just had a really good rip down in the trails, full drag brake, well, at least 100% drag brake. This goes up to 200%, you know, I don't know, is all the way up 100% or is all the way up 200%? They could have just called it 100%, but anyway, drag brake full up to 100%, which is technically half of what it can do. And my drag brake rate was cranked up. So let's see what kind of temps we're getting here. And I'll show you guys. Oh, my boot fell off. This thing could be an issue. I thought I had it fixed. I don't know. We got to play around with it again. You saw the fan I have on here. It's working extremely well. The ESC fan is kicking on and off at times. I'm not really getting any excess heat on the ESC. Feels really good. I'll have to bring a temp gun out next time and really take some temps on this. But so far, this thing on 4S is awesome in the woods. This is a really, really, really nice system. The drag brake feature, so I'll show you again, just turning the two knobs on top of my controller. That's no drag brake rate all the way 0. Then bam, turn the drag brake up, but the rate is all the way down. Comes to a nice progressive stop. If I turn the rate up, wham, you get a nice immediate brake. What's funny is the drag brake I don't think the brake is turned fully up on this. I got to connect to Bluetooth and check it out. The drag brake on this is stronger than the actual brake. So I need to figure that out. I would like to have a stronger brake on this thing. But man, what a blast this thing is. I like this a lot better than stock. Smooth. Oh, front bumper did not like that one. So let me get a top speed run here. I'll do a speed run on this thing with a GPS at some point. Let's see, just 4S. Of course, yeah, you see those brakes. I can't really get up to full speed here, just the distance, but that's full throttle. And for this kind of terrain, this size track, 4S is actually perfect. It's pretty scale driving. Oh, whoa, easy there. Big fella. Let's try and hit that again. That was better. Oh yeah, all right. Nice. Really fun truck, man, really fun truck. So, just for the record, I drove my Max Slash. You'll probably see some shorts I'll post on. I'm not going to do a full video. I drove my Max Slash back here on 4S the other night. It was pretty bad. It sits so low in the front. It was catching on rocks that I didn't even know were in the ground back here. And it was just really getting banged up and beat up pretty good. So it's not ideal for back here, even though it's kind of the same size as this truck. Tires are a little bit smaller, but it just sits a lot lower. So this thing, with its long travel suspension, really sweet, a lot of fun. About to wrap up this video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're still watching, thanks, man. I know this is a long video, but I couldn't really cut too much out of it without really eliminating a lot of good info, I think. So I want to get this thing out soon and run it in some different terrain, maybe more open terrain, and really give this power system a good test and just do a little more testing and tuning. So stay tuned for that. I'll have a lot more in the very near future, but I love this truck. It is so much fun. I highly recommend getting one. If you guys are on the fence about it, don't hesitate. It's a really great truck. They were just on sale for $500, so that's a pretty good deal. I'd recommend it. I still have a nice bruise on my toe from this incident here. Just a top tip, don't jump toward yourself. This is just some of the dangers of filming RC. I was able to kind of stop it half with my hand, but mostly with my big toe, which did not feel very good. Just checked the brake force in the Bluetooth settings, and it was set to 100%, but it does go to 200%, so it was really only at 50%. So I bumped it up to 150%, which is probably 75%. And if any of this is confusing, yes, it's confusing. I'm gonna bump it up to 200% and just go with full brake force. Why not? Because this thing still, let me get a little bit of a run here and show you full brake. That's full brake. That's not acceptable. I just crashed into myself pretty hard coming off that little jump there, and I don't want to do that again, so I need full brake force. Let me bump it up to 200%. Okay, brakes turned up to 200%. Yeah, that's good. Yep, way better. Nice. Oh, low voltage. That was a pretty good run. This was a 6200 4S. And yeah, everything you saw in this video, I've been out here for at least 45 minutes playing around and just hit low voltage. So that's really nice. And with the lights on the whole time. And 2 fans running. Not bad. Yeah, so really happy with the results from this first round of modifications. Definitely going to, at the very least, end up with 2 different setups. If not, just go straight up woods truck setup with this thing and keep it on 4S or 6S with the dual rate dropped. And then I can kind of play around with the ultimate power level that I want in terms of, you know, traction, power, heat buildup, all that stuff. I can kind of adjust it on the fly. But we'll see. I think it will be cool to have 2 options in terms of just running the stock tires if you want to go out and rip it kind of fast, more open terrain, and then maybe bump the power level up. Or if you want to do like a woods run like I just did, throw on the Hyrax tires, a little bit of a softer setup overall, and then drop the power down, or maybe just run on 4S, crank the drag brake up, and it's kind of like a really great all-purpose truck. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video. I'll get out and run this thing some more, some mixed terrain. I want to take it out to a sand pit, run it around there, and then there's also some trails up behind the sand pit that I think will be perfect for really challenging this thing. And then I want to put this thing up against my Hammer Ray and my Rift and see which one ends up being the most fun.